Chris hit us up. He said, why do people just assume Ohio State can win a national title every year? My answer is because they can win a national title every year.
Lay hold of it. You lay hold of it. And when that thing tells you to quit, you look at it in his eye and say, I ain't going nowhere. I will break you before you break me. You will not defeat me. You will not destroy me. Some of you are so ignorant. You've been through so much hell. You gonna quit now? You should have quit 10 years ago. You should have been quit. You don't quit now. It's the 10th round. You got 2 more to go. And when you get to success, it's not about skill. When you get to a certain level of success, it's about stamina. It's about stamina. It's about you won't break me. You can't take me. It's too late now. It's too late. You should have broke me a long time ago. I'm unbreakable now. The only chance at this point is you gotta kill me. And you gotta kill me now. And then when you kill me, my legacy will live.
Welcome into the Voice of College Football Ohio State postgame show. Ohio State defeats Northwestern 31-7 on Wrigley Field. The conditions might not have been as bad as we thought, but the Northwestern players were trying to do everything they could, it seemed like, to injure the players. We'll talk about that more, I'm sure, but it's me, your guy, JR. JR's rankings on Twitter, recapping the game with Cleveland Mike 216_Wildboy. Cleveland Mike, how we doing tonight, man?
Doing good, man. Buckeyes got a dub, so I'm feeling good, and it's a blessed day. Can't complain.
There it is. I said tonight. It's just the day has gone kind of slow for me. So this afternoon, I guess.
Yeah,
we know it's this afternoon after the Buckeyes play because they're playing 6 straight noon games to end the year. At this point, I think if they make the playoffs, they're going to put us at noon in the playoffs as well.
Facts.
All right, we have a poll in the chat section. We want to get you all's opinion. Offensive player of the game, Will Howard. He threw for, how many was it? 4 touchdowns, 2 touchdowns in this game, 15 of 24, 247 yards. Quinshon Judkins, who had 15 carries, 76 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Trevion Henderson, who had 11 carries, 74 yards, but he also added 2 receptions with 19 yards on top of that. Or Carnell Tate, the hometown kid who came home, 4 receptions, 52 yards, and 2 touchdowns in this one. Let's start there, Mike. Who's your choice for player of the game?
Yeah, it's definitely Carnell Tate, the hometown kid, man, going back, into Chicago, getting 2 touchdowns. He said that there were probably over 30 people hitting him up, to come watch him play and wanting tickets. So, I just think that it was a blessing. All the turmoil that he's been through and the adversity that he's faced, and watching him come through that. I think that this was amazing, man. And you could just tell the players wanted it for Carnell as well. So definitely Carnell Tate game for me.
There you go. Yeah, I liked Carnell in this one as well. Felt like they were kind of targeting him early. He had the catch on 3rd down where he just didn't quite get there, but then later on they were able to target him in the red zone and on that deep pass that I didn't even see until the replay because all the fans stood up. It's like
man, don't even get me started on the camera angles that the Big Ten was pushing out. That was terrible.
It was. I tweeted out, I was like, I think they got so used to the Ohio State fans not standing up at the home games that they're like, oh yeah, they won't stand up at Wrigley Field. Nope, they stand up at Wrigley Field apparently. So, John Bruce Ferguson is right there, man. If they play like that in the first quarter next week, it's gonna be ugly. Let's start there, Mike. That is obviously the part that I think people are taking away the most with this game was the first quarter just plain and simple wasn't good enough, even though you did have what probably should have been a touchdown to Jeremiah Smith. I didn't see the ball hit the ground. I think it hit the ground, but you couldn't say for sure it hit the ground. You didn't actually see it happen, but of course they took that away from him. Even then, Ohio State was still in 3rd and long situations in that first quarter multiple times. They couldn't really run the ball very much. Quinshawn and Trey, when they were getting loose, it kind of was by their own doing. Other players were in the backfield, or Northwestern players were in the backfield multiple times, and Quinshawn and Trey were having to break tackles and make guys miss in the backfield. I mean, what's your thoughts on that first quarter offensively, and then we'll get to the defense in just a second.
Yeah, it was like guys were coming on delayed pressures. You know, they had extra guys in the box, and I felt like this was more of a game where, you know, we should have opened it more up in the passing game early instead of trying the runs. And I hate doing the trickery stuff early as well. You know, like I felt like we didn't need to do that early in the game. Like let that come later on in the game instead of early. But I mean, it's something that this Buckeye team is going to have to clean up, you know, what it looks like. And I mean, if you see it on film, right, if you're a defensive coordinator, what are you going to try to do? I want to make Will Howard have to throw the ball downfield. You know, that's what I want to do. I want to make these wide receivers have to make the difficult catches as well. And that looks like that's what Northwestern's game plan was. And they were, you know, had a lot of guys in the box and we weren't doing well. Now, I didn't understand, you know, later it seemed like our run game started hitting, I guess, in the second half and we went away from it. But I know we were talking about like the first quarter. We definitely got to do better with that in Indiana. And not just on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, we need to be better. I hate how we allow people to get long sustaining drives instead of like getting a quick 3 and out sometimes, you know, and then allowing them to convert on 3rd and longs. It's ridiculous. We got to clean that up.
Yeah, for sure. If you look over at the defense, I think the defense kind of set the tone for the entire first quarter on that first drive when they let Northwestern just kind of drive down the field and take about 5 minutes off the clock. Thankfully, they got the fumble, which Jack Sawyer kind of poked out there. At first, I thought maybe he punched it from behind him, but when I went back and looked at it, he didn't really punch it all that hard from behind him. Jack Lausch just didn't have great control of the ball, which is fine. I mean, Davis Ingmanosin got it, and he went with it and had some good yards, but even when Northwestern came out the second time, their offense was still able to move the ball relatively well. So I don't know. I don't feel great about these cornerbacks right now. I know Ohio State just won 31-7, but Burke, Kurtz was making some good catches on him. Davison Ingmanosin, he kind of got things together later on, but still had a bad penalty. Jermaine got absolutely cooked on that one route. He was thankful that Jack Lausch,
times.
He overthrew him. I mean, there were just some bad cornerback play in this one, and I'm thinking to myself, you're not going to be able to get away with that against Oregon. I know Oregon doesn't have Tez Johnson, but you can't get away with that against Oregon, and you definitely can't get away with that against Indiana too. They actually have some good wide receivers there that are going to make you pay.
And a quarterback who's known for putting it in the breadbasket. So, I mean, you know, a lot of those passes that this Northwestern quarterback, you know, missed on, you know, Indiana's quarterback isn't going to do it. And it kind of, from Ryan Day's message of last week, right? Like, are you this team? Are you this dominant team? Or, you know, is it just you do it when you want to show up? And that's what I was worried about. Like, that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see this team come out, be dominant, play dominant for a full fourth quarter, you know, 4 quarters. And I just feel like we continually don't see that. I'm hoping that they can clean it up. You know, you want to make the excuses and say, hey, you know, on offense, we weren't running stuff that we're probably going to run against Indiana, right? On defense, we probably, you know, aren't going to run this stuff or whatever, you know, against Indiana, maybe. But still, I mean, there's fundamental things that are lacking. That's an issue.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, Ohio State only had one possession there in the first quarter, and Northwestern just continued to drain the clock. Ohio State got the ball with about 8 minutes, and then they didn't get the ball and again until about 12 minutes left in the second quarter. So I know that the game is sped up and the way things operate now give you a shorter game, but I also see teams, all over the country putting up way more points just by their offense. Not a whole lot of turnovers and pick sixes and stuff like that. So Ohio State has to figure out a way to get the defense off the
Explosive
field
plays.
quicker,
Yeah.
and explosive plays, right? They have to get that as well. Let's talk about some of the explosive plays. Will Howard did have a really nice pass, I felt like, to Jeremiah Smith. Felt like there was definitely some pass interference on that one, but the refs are going to be blind where they want to be blind. And he also had a good throw to Carnell Tate. Did have to dive for it, but I felt like it was in good position where he was able to make the catch. Thank goodness Will Howard has really, really good wide receivers. And I get the concerns for Will Howard's deep ball. Don't get me wrong, but I also don't see a whole lot of great deep ball throwing around the country right now. So it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, Will Howard is not great at it, but I don't know if there's really anybody in the country right now that's all that great at it. What's your thoughts on the deep ball today?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was saying Will Howard was dotting it up today, man. And I think one of the most underrated throws was his throw to G. Scott right over
That was
the
perfect.
linebacker, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, I felt like Will Howard put it in the breadbasket. Also, I feel like on that play, in a couple previous years, we have seen guys drop that pass. So I also want to give G. Scott a shout out. Like, bruh, like that's the type of stuff that we need. Hope that G. Scott is healthy and whatever. I felt like he got a stinger or something, but hopefully he stays healthy. And we're able to see a lot more of him in the Indiana game. But yeah, I mean, the Carnell Tate. I mean, to be honest, he did put the ball in positions a couple times where the receivers could have made plays and things like that, which is what we asked him to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have any issues. I felt like he did a better job, this week. Definitely, I feel like he did a better job this week.
Yeah, I think they were kind of giving him the deep balls a little bit more in this one, right? They really wanted to take away the run game. They really wanted to take away Will Howard's ability to use his legs, and they were going to say, hey, if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to throw the ball, 10, 20 yards in order to do that. And I felt like Will Howard, I mean, this is just me personally. I don't know if anybody else, let me know how you would grade Will Howard's performance, maybe letter grade style in the chat, but I felt like Will Howard had a really good day throwing the ball. It might have been one of his best days throwing the ball overall. The throw to Jeremiah Smith, the throw to Carnell Tate, the throw to G. Scott, even that throw to Jeremiah Smith over the middle where he kind of got hurt a little bit after he was done running there. I felt like that was thrown in just the right spot to give Jeremiah Smith the opportunity to go and run with it. Now, Jeremiah Smith, very fast, way faster than anybody on Northwestern's team, as you could see on that play. So he's going to make the quarterback look good, but I didn't feel like there was a whole lot of terrible decision making or terribly off throws or anything like that. Even the throw, I forget when it was in the game, but the throw to Carnell Tate, I think it was, where Carnell had to kind of stop his route a little bit. I felt like that was placed well because if he kept leading him too much, then the defender would have had the opportunity because the defender was so high up over the top of Carnell Tate. We've seen CJ Stroud do that a number of times where he kind of has to break his route down and stop a little bit to get the ball. And I don't know, maybe it wasn't intentional by Will Howard, maybe it was, but overall I felt like it was a good day throwing the ball for Will Howard in this one. Quinshon Judkins in this one, Mike, he did have a little bit of a tough time. He does end with leading the rusher, 76 yards and 2 touchdowns, had a long run of 17. Most of that work came in the second half when things got a little bit better. What'd you see from Quinshon in this one? What'd you think?
Yeah, honestly, I loved how hard Quinshon was running. On one play, though, I don't know what he was doing when he could have got the first down, and he just like ran into the defender that his teammate was blocking. I didn't understand that. I don't know what he saw, but I saw green grass, but maybe his average would be even better. But shout out to Quinshon also. The 2 goal line plays, man, getting it in the touchdown and just being able to run behind his pass, man. Shout out to Q. And also, man, Travion out there averaging 6.7 yards a carry. I liked what I seen from our running backs. I liked watching Trey run behind his pass. If Trey could just do that every time consistently run behind them pads, bro, this is what you'll see.
Yeah, Travion was huge today. Just a spectacular play from him. You can really tell that the offensive coaching staff wants to try to get the ball in his hands as much as possible, but he is such an asset in the pass blocking game and everything else too, that it's like he's just the ultimate guy. That you look at his carries, you look at his receptions, and you're like, wow, that's not very many. But you watch the game, and he is constantly doing stuff out there. Doug said in the chat, Coach Locke is making a big difference right now. I think both these players were really good when they came to Ohio State. Travion Henderson, obviously, as a freshman, and he's grown over his time here. Quinshon Judkins last year at Ole Miss, but you've seen the development of both of them, I think, in different ways this year, specifically Travion Henderson with being healthy and his pass blocking and everything he's able to do. What'd you think of that jump? Was that needed by Travion Henderson there, Mike?
No, I thought Travion could have actually – I felt he could have cut back in and got behind his pads and, ran into the defender because the defender would have been off. I felt like that second defender would have been off balance. But hey, he did it because the guy seemed like he already committed to what he was about to do, which I understand. Like, that's why Travion knew to jump. Like, you already saw. Go ahead, juke back in, and then run downhill into that next defender with your pads. Is what I was kind of, hoping that he would do. But, because sometimes, man, especially with having that second defender there, I was kind of a little scared for Travion. I'm like, is he going to get a chance to come back down? Like,
right.
That's what I was like, because the other guy could have cleaned him up. But, it just comes with the game. Like, you just know you're going to see things like that again. You're going to see it on tape and be like, man, I could have did this, I could have did that, and for next time. So
yeah, I think that was kind of just like a showboat play by Travion there a little bit, which, I mean, I don't hate it. Would I like for you to, maybe turn up field and do it a little bit more? Maybe, but at the end of the day, like, it's fine. He kind of knew the game was over and he wanted to kind of do a little bit of a highlight play. It's all good with me. I felt like the game was over much sooner than Ryan Day took the starters out in the second half. Didn't take them out until, like, what was it, the last drive of the game in the fourth quarter. I don't know. I was talking to a Minnesota fan on Twitter because him and we kind of talk everything the Big Ten sometimes, and he was like, what in the world? Like, what is Ryan Day thinking? And I was like, dude, your guess is as good as mine. I mean, he's been better this season about rotating guys and getting the players out, but I mean, I don't understand this field, this team that was obviously trying to hurt Ohio State players. Like, I don't understand what Ryan Day was thinking or seeing to be like, oh yeah, it's a good idea to continue to put all of our starting players out there in the middle of the fourth quarter. Like, I don't know. What do you think, Mike?
I mean, I knew exactly what was going on in Ryan Day's head. I want to say we kind of was talking about it in the spaces is, Ryan Day, this is how Ryan Day's brain is, right? It'll be 31-7 or whatever, or let's say it was 28-7 at the time. And they go ahead and score another touchdown. Well, in Ryan Day, this is what he would tell you guys straight up. I already know what he would say. Well, guys, it was 28-7. I just felt if Northwestern went and scored again, now it's a 2-possession game, right? And then he'd have made these excuses about what's going on offense and and just felt like, well, and the defense just wasn't, finding their rhythm. So I just felt like I had to do that. I mean,
yeah.
Does that sound spot on? Like,
yeah,
like we've heard it before.
Like a Ryan Day answer.
We've heard it before. So I mean,
I would understand that to a certain extent. I wouldn't agree with it, but I would understand that to a certain extent with the defense, right? Like, you get up 3 scores and then the defense, you put them out there for one more drive and you just kind of let them make sure the other team doesn't score. I would get that. But to bring the offense out again, and not just again, but what was it, 1 or 2 more times after that as well? Like, I don't know. I don't understand. You saw G. Scott go down. You saw Jeremiah Smith go down or like limp off the field. He didn't go down, but you saw him limp off the field. I don't understand how you have this game against Indiana coming up, a top 5 matchup at home. You have the game against the team up north, which you've not beaten in the last, the last 3 seasons really, but you could say the last 4 because Michigan decided to wimp out in the COVID year. But whatever it might be, like, you haven't beat them in so long. You need to get the win against them. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on in his mind.
I feel like the reason why Ryan Day does not lose to the teams, the unranked teams, right? The reason why he has a perfect record against them is because he thinks week to week. So, I mean, like he said it too, like he talks about it like we are focused on this week where we heard about behind the scenes Urban Meyer, we losing to Purdue and Iowa games because he's looking on ahead to the next games, right? Like we heard about those things, and I feel like Ryan Day is the type of guy that's like, I'm not thinking about Indiana until after we beat Northwestern, and we need to beat Northwestern and do it like this. Until that mission's accomplished, he's not thinking about nothing else at all, where other coaches will probably do that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I guess it has pros and cons, right? Like, I appreciate that Ryan today wants to win every single game and doesn't want it to be close, blow the team out, stuff like that, secure the win, all that stuff. And I'm sure I'd be saying something different back in the Urban era when you lose to Purdue and Iowa and stuff like that. But, like, I feel like there's just so much talent on this team that even your backups, like CJ Hicks and Caden Curry, Arvell Reese was a leading tackler on the day. Like, all these backups you have, they should be good enough that you should be able to send them out in the second half against. This isn't Penn State. This isn't even Wisconsin. This is Northwestern. Like, you should be able to send them out in the second half against them. You had a Northwestern kid who was one of their really you had a Northwestern kid who was one of their really, really high recruits transfer in. The dude never sniffed the field once, and then he transferred out right away because he knew there was never a chance for him to play. You have such a talent advantage on this team that it shouldn't ever matter. But it is what it is, I guess. So.
That's how we look at it as. But see, my thing is like, I'm wondering, is it a development issue? Because, they keep talking about stuff, practice. Guys not, and practice is supposed to be like the game. Well, what's going on with our development that our young guys aren't able to play up to that standard? Because, and when did this become an issue? How long has it been an issue? Because I remember it not being an issue. Like, you ball out on special teams, and then you start seeing the field in mop-up duty, right? And then you ball up in mop-up duty. I remember when guys used to talk about, the young guys didn't want to let the older guys down when they got in there, to preserve a shutout or to not, they wanted to show that they could be, the third string or the second string guys that didn't give up a touchdown, because they was competing with the first string, things like that. Like, we need to get back to that.
I totally agree. You need to get back to that attitude where you earn it being on the field in the actual game. Yes, you earn it in practice as well. You have to do that, but practice is where you get your reps in the game, and then when you get in the game, you earn it from there. So, all right, let's switch over to the defense here, Mike. We had 2 sacks for Sonny Styles on the day. I put a poll question in there about defensive player in the game. Sonny Styles would actually probably be my pick for defensive player of the game. Like I said, 2 sacks for him. Second in the team in tackles, 2 pass breakups. Didn't have any QB hits or anything like that, but all over the place. He was making plays, felt like he was breaking down and tackling well in this one, even though the running game for Northwestern looked pretty good at the beginning. I felt like the linebackers improved and got better, and boy, Jim Knowles was sending them on blitzes today. Both him and Cody Simon were trying to get in the backfield. It was pretty crazy to see. What do you think about the defense, Mike?
Yeah, I definitely think that there's some things that we need to work on. Again, I feel like I keep talking about it every week. Tackling. You're going up against the Indiana. That's not going to work against Indiana. Like, you make mistakes, they're going to capitalize on that stuff.
Right.
I don't know how much more I need to harp on it. It was like when I'm watching the game, I was sitting there and I was like, man, I remember when, I think it was the play like Jordan Hancock. I guess he like waited to the to the offensive guy, came to him, and then he made the tackle. But I just I got the thing in my head where I remember like a same play being like that, and Denzel Ward coming downhill or some other guys coming downhill, and then right after that, you see that Caleb Downs, how aggressive he was coming downhill. And we need that more out of our players, man. Guys you need to be driving through the football. Like, I mean, that's what I was taught. I was born, I was raised in Ohio, played football in Ohio. Like, to me, that embodies Ohio. Even the Caden Curry, he should have killed that punter. He should have killed him. He should have murdered that dude. There's no way that punter should have ever thought about punting again. But you try to sidearm tackle him? That does not embody Ohio. And I feel like it all stems from not practicing tackling. Because when you practice and tackling, what do we always hear under every mind? These guys tired of hitting each other. They ready to hit somebody else. But we were one of the best tackling teams in the country.
Yeah, we were one of the best tackling teams when we were doing that like rugby style tackling and stuff too. Who was that? Was that under Ash? I think it was.
Chris Ash and Luke Fickle.
Yeah, I mean
Chris Ash brought it, but I mean
that was one of the best years of tackling I ever remember watching for Ohio State. Now you can go back to the Trustful years a little bit, but in modern years, that's one of the best years of tackling I ever saw.
And here's the thing: we didn't even always see them guys doing rugby tackling. Like I said, like driving through the football, them guys was doing that too. So I mean, I really think that it's you have to practice it. Like not practicing it stuff, it doesn't go well. Like if you're, an NFL player might not have to do that, but these guys, they need to. And I mean, I watched high school game and stuff. And one thing that I'm just seeing at this high school level, everybody wants to throw the shoulder. Nobody wants to wrap up. It's really sad. Like I don't understand it. I don't understand it, man. We definitely need to get back to that.
You watch a guy like Caleb Downs, and he is the epitome of what tackling should be today. I mean, that tackle he had on that tight end, he triggered early, so that way he was able to get to the tight end before the tight end was able to turn his head. And then when he got to the tight end, he broke down, but he broke down in such a way that his momentum was continuing to go to the tight end, hit him right in the hips, grabbed his leg, and took him down wrestling style. I mean, that is textbook tackling in today's age of college football when there's so many rules about tackling and then sweeping the legs, everything he's done there. I mean, at this point, I'm just like, get Caleb Downs on the field and let him coach a clinic on how to tackle these guys. Right. Because Jack Sawyer today, like he had 7 tackles in this game. The dude could have had 10 or 11. I mean,
we were in the group chat talking about Sawyer could have had a career game.
Yeah, he could have had 2 or 3 sacks.
To had a career game.
Yeah. I mean, Jack Lausch, like, I'll give Jack Lausch credit. Like, he is an athletic dude. I watched him a lot this season. He is an athletic dude, and he can make guys miss. But, like, that's making guys miss on, like, Nebraska. That's making guys miss on, and I'm not trying to disparage those programs, but, like, they just don't have players on the similar level to Ohio State. Jack Sawyer is such a talented player, and, I mean, he's a first-round draft pick, if not first-round, second-round draft pick. He should be able to take down a dude like Jack Lausch relatively easy. Maybe one missed tackle. Okay, he's a pretty elusive guy. I get it, but missing 2 or 3 sacks in the game and not being able to wrap him up and getting juked out of your shoes with him, I'm sorry, it's just not acceptable. It's not acceptable from the defense, and I really got to question what this defense is doing during the week with trying to get guys to tackle better. I mean, are you talking about tackling at all? I get you don't do it in practice because you don't want to get hurt. That's fine. Are you talking about it at all? Or are you simulating it at all? Like, you got to be doing something out there to get these guys to actually hit and tackle.
Facts. And also we could work on our pursuit angles too, because I think that could help, especially coming off the line. That can help Jack, because one thing, he's either coming out too far wide, which was, I felt like, his issue last year, but this time he gives up his outside shoulder too much to allow guys to go. And you have to know that about, the inside shoulder and how you're coming downhill. And if he could just get those angles right. I mean, it's sad. Like, well, you're a fourth year player, man, and I just felt like those were the things when I say, like, a lot of people. Ryan Day said, "Hey, we had to come change up the defense and everything." We didn't change up the defense. We just allowed Nose to run what he ran in 2022. But
Mhm.
the issues in that 2022 defense was tackling, pursuit angles, things like that. These are areas that just needed to be cleared up. And it just makes me think, like, if we just worked on these things, and cleaned these up, where we could actually be, instead of, hey, Nose, we don't want you to run your 2020 defense. Let's switch that up in 2023. So now these guys are having to dip back and forth in different stuff. I don't like it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I do like that they're blitzing more. I do think that that adds a lot for getting tackles for loss and stuff like that. But you need the secondary to be better on the back end if you're gonna be doing that, especially these deep shots that Northwestern didn't really connect on, but they were there and they had the ability to get there. You just can't let those happen. So whatever they got to do to get the cornerbacks ready for that, they got to do. So I mean.
Facts.
Look at us. I mean, we're Ohio State fans. We're complaining about the defense when they only allowed 7 points. It is what it is. But these are
That's
things
what
that you gotta.
happens. Yeah, when you have
These,
a championship contending team, man. I
right?
mean,
And when you play a
and
top 5 team next week, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, and here's the thing. Like, I know a lot of Buckeye fans on Twitter, especially, are like, "Oh, you guys are complaining," and it's like, no, we're not complaining. We're having a conversation about real things. It's okay. Yes, we are nitpicking, but that's what happens when you have a championship team. For majority of our lives, what have we seen? We have seen these double-digit win seasons, right? We've seen that. We've seen that. How do we get more?
right.
More. So that we're talking about that. And our Buckeye fans, it is okay. It is okay to be critical of your team. It is okay to see faults, because we should be able to see the faults and things that we can clean up. And I feel like we put on our blinders and we look at the team as ourselves, because a lot of people can't see the faults within their own self, right? So I just think, as Buckeye fans, man, we gotta be better than that. We gotta be better.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when it gets to the level where it's just like, complaining about stuff that, wasn't really an issue, then definitely you're just complaining too much. But
Right.
stuff like tackling and stuff like wrapping guys up and, doing that, definitely stuff that needs to be talked about. And, we'll see how Ohio State responds and does with them. All right. Mike, was there anything with special teams or coaching or anything like that you wanted to touch on before we start maybe talking a little bit more about Big Ten and maybe some other games that are going on around the country?
Nah, nothing really. I think we kind of hit on it. Things that we want to see cleaned up and stuff for the most part. Special teams, Caleb Downs, I seen him use his little move. I wish he could have wiggled on up out of there, but I need to go back and watch that play, because I want to know how so many guys got back there to Caleb Downs so fast, and there was nobody there back there blocking them guys, slowing them guys down.
Yeah.
And I think that I have talked on this show a couple times about, like, our blocking on punt and on special teams, like to be able to give guys like Caleb Downs a chance, because when you're on special teams, you should have to make that one, like, especially on punt, you at least got to make one, maybe two guys miss. But shoot, Caleb had 1, 2, 3, 4 guys. So,
Yeah.
I think I need to watch that and figure that out.
Yeah, I thought it was evident on the Travion Henderson kick return when, it felt like he had a good return because he just kept running. But then you look at it and you're like, oh, he only got to the 20-yard line on that one. He made a bunch of guys miss. Like, he was really elusive. But that's not how you get a big kick return or a big punt return. You have to get the blocking in front of you. You have to get the hole, hit it, make 1 or 2 guys miss, and then just let your speed take care of the rest of it. Travion Henderson had the speed to go side to side, which is great, but that's not how there's too much room in front of you and there's too many guys seeing what's going on for you to have the speed to just be able to get to the side and run down the sideline, exactly from where you were. So All right, Mike, Texas barely wins against Arkansas. Don't know if you saw any of that one. I know
I
that the
did.
SEC fans are probably going to be touting Arkansas up as some great contender now. What you think?
Yeah, they definitely going to do that after they took a beating. Arkansas took a beating from Ole Miss, but they're they're hyping up Vandy at this point. I mean, what else do we expect from SEC fans? They don't like seeing four Big Ten teams in the top five. But if it was them in the top five, they'd be happy with it, right?
Yeah,
You know,
I keep saying that it's like SEC fans see number 1 through 10 struggling to play against each other in their conference, and they're like, "Oh wow, everybody is elite." This is a great conference, and there's so many great teams in it. But then we see the Big Ten having teams 5 through 15 struggling with each other, and it's like, "Oh wow, the entire Big Ten stinks." It's like, no, like. In fact, teams are just closer to each other in each conference in each area, but they'll never listen to that just because they think Georgia's great and everything. So
it's
we'll
too
see.
reasonable. It's too
Yeah.
reasonable. That's why it has too much logic. And you know what
Yeah.
I like to say? I like to say that the sun has been baking their brains a little too much down here, and that's why they don't understand it. But yeah, Arkansas, they were sustaining the drive and then ended up. I said if they go ahead, they score, they're gonna be up, right? Arkansas ends up ending the long drive that they had with 3 points, and then I want to say Texas got the ball back. They fumbled right there in the red zone, I believe. And then I think they
Yeah.
ended up scoring a touchdown. Arkansas was going to go try to meet them again and get another touch or get another score. But then they ended up fumbling, I believe, on like a little tunnel screen or bubble screen or whatever. And the guy fumbled. And that was really the game right there as soon as he fumbled. My wife actually, my wife being from Arkansas, she texts me and she's like, did we really just fumble right there?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, in Texas was able to just get 7 minutes off the clock there at the end of the game running the ball. Arkansas just didn't have an answer for him. That's a product of a team that's not as deep as the other team and just doesn't have the horses to run with them the entire game. Yeah, Pitt just tied the game. Just tied it. This was a comment from Doug a little bit earlier, but Pitt and Clemson are still tied. About 2 minutes left. Pitt has the ball on Clemson's 31-yard line, right outside of the red zone. So Pitt driving in this one. If they score here, Clemson, I guess we'll see if Cade Klubnik is really this Heisman contender people put him out to be. I don't think he is. I don't think he's that good, but
I don't think
everybody
so
else is
either.
touting him up.
I felt like when I seen that, I was like, Will Howard should even be above him. But I'm like, I don't think Will's going to win a Heisman or is, probably going to. I don't think he's going to make it to New York. But there are a couple people who I think that he should be above for sure.
Well, he should definitely be above Cade Klubnik. I love the season from the Army quarterback right now, but let's be honest, like he should be above the Army quarterback. There's a number of other guys, but I think Will has a chance still this game against Indiana. I know that Indiana, is going to not really be viewed upon as like a huge game, even though they're a top 5 team. But if Will goes out there and has some really good plays and makes some big things happen, I think that he has a chance. And then if you defeat Oregon in the Big Ten championship game, I mean, that's your biggest shot. The only problem with that is a lot of these voters will vote before the championship games even happen. So, we'll see what happens there. But if Clemson goes down to Pitt, that'll have to take away Georgia's thought process and like campaigning for like we have 2 big wins, right?
They their biggest win is Texas. I still like, and I've said that like their
who
biggest
doesn't have
win,
a big win?
Yeah, their biggest win is Texas, and I've never counted Clemson. Never counted Clemson for Georgia. You're struggling in the ACC when there's hardly any good teams in the ACC, man. And we're watching it. Like we've watched Miami this whole time go up against the Cows of the world and struggle. Georgia Tech, we've seen Miami get bullied in the trenches. Like,
Yep.
we expecting that trench work to go up against SEC or Big Ten? Like, no, like this. That's why I felt like the committee was telling everybody, because if you look at it, they're telling you only one team from the ACC is getting in, and that's the conference champion, and only one team from the Big 12 is getting in, and that's the conference champion. Everybody else can kick rocks.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really says something about the ACC that you had a group of 5 team, and I know you can say this about the SEC and the Big Ten as well, but not on the same level. You had a previously group of 5 team come into the conference now, and they are in all likelihood going to make it to the ACC championship game. You have Texas and most likely another SEC power, whether that be Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, whoever that might be, going to play them in the SEC championship game. And then in the Big Ten, you have Oregon, but again, you'll have probably either Penn State or Ohio State, maybe even Indiana. We'll see, but you have one of them facing them in the Big Ten championship game. Right now, you have SMU as probably the ACC championship game, like, leader, I guess.
Yeah.
To me, they should be over Miami. They have a better resume than Miami
Thank
does.
you. Oh, man. I talked about that on the Fans Edge this Wednesday. It makes no sense. You cannot put BYU up there at 6 and then have SMU, the only team that SMU has lost to, all the way down there, and then Miami. Because here's the thing. The committee said, oh, these losses, like they talked about Ohio State's loss. Oh, this was the better loss. Who has the better loss between SMU and Miami?
Totally. I totally agree. And that's the other thing, too, is like BYU is not getting the respect I think they deserve. Now, they probably should have lost against Utah, right? I mean, we all saw that. Probably should have, but they won. We'll give it to them. But this BYU team, they've beaten SMU. They've beaten Kansas State. Like, it's some better wins than SEC teams have right now, right? Like,
those are better wins than what Miami has.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And you're punishing SMU for what?
Yeah.
The committee is literally just I thought the AP poll was not significant. I was wrong, because that's all the college football playoff committee is doing. And then they will wiggle a couple things.
That's what I told people on my Big Ten show, is like, we were talking about the AP poll rankings and everybody came in the comment section and they're like, it's stupid you guys are talking about this. This doesn't mean anything. And I was like, guys, I know, like, we want it not to mean anything. I don't want it to mean anything either. I want the college football playoff committee to just at the end of the day, put out their rankings and what they think is best. But when they watch on Saturday and on the scoreboard below, if there's a number next to that name, that means something to them. If there's not a number next to that name, guess what? That means something to them. And when they look on that schedule and it says, oh, SMU didn't have a number next to them when BYU beat them, but now SMU does, they don't always think about that. They look at BYU's schedule and say, oh, Kansas State had a number next to them. Well, that means SMU's a better team than Kansas State was. But of course, on the schedule, it looks different. But I mean, and at this point, I don't even think Tennessee really deserves to be all that much higher up there either, because look at their lone win. Alabama, like, at home. You can't go on the road. Like, you went on the road for NC State and won when they were ranked 24th. Guess what? You don't know how good NC State is? Mike, do you know NC State's record off the top of your head?
NC State? No, they
5-5. Not good.
Lord.
And they're in the ACC.
So Notre Dame lost at home to NIU.
Yeah.
Should they be ahead of SMU?
No, but they got that Texas A&M win that everybody wants to tout up there and say, oh, that's great. But nobody wants to give USC credit for beating LSU. It's just the hypocrisy of the whole thing.
The Texas A&M team that got so much praise because they beat the LSU that got smacked around by Bama.
Right, and that's
who can't throw the ball no more.
Yeah,
this is what I'm saying, bro. Like, they have no real people on the committee, and it is really a joke. I don't understand it, and I was one
At
of the
this
people
point-
who were saying that the AP poll is dumb. Why is anybody talking about it? I didn't like talking about it. But it's like you have to take the AP poll serious. And it's crazy because when you see the picks that these individuals on the AP poll make,
Yep.
it is just, it's blasphemy. I don't know what else to say. Like, I'm trying to be, use better words other than cussing and bad words, but Lord help me.
No, it is absolutely insane. I don't know if you ever go to collegepolltracker.com, but it kind of gives you like a detailed view of everything and like who people are voting for and how high they have them and stuff like that. Like this last week, Georgia is ranked 12th. They had 2 votes to keep them at 5th. Like and there were 4 that wasn't this week, but last week there were 2 votes to have Ohio State 8th. Like, what are we doing here? After Ohio State beats Penn State, they're like, "Oh yeah, this is the 8th best team in the country."
Must have been
Like,
Brett McMurphy.
yeah, probably. I don't know. Like, it's the biggest issue is there is no like unifying, like, this is how we're ranking teams. Like, it's just like, hey, rank them. So some people rank them saying like this is the best team in the country. Some people rank them like, hey, I think this is going to be the best team in the country. Like, some people are like, oh, this is right now. Some people are like, oh, this is predictive. Like, there's no single criteria. They're just like, hey, rank the teams, and then this is what you end up with people voting Georgia at 5th, and then people also voting Georgia as low as 14th. Like, there's no criteria. So
Pitt's winning 20-17 against Clemson with 1:36 seconds.
they just got the field goal. Okay,
yeah.
We'll see if Cade Klubnik is him. Anything else going around college football before we get out of here, Mike?
Just around the Big Ten, man. Make sure y'all checking out the Nebraska at USC game at 4 p.m. kickoff on Fox. You have a rivalry game between Rutgers and Maryland at 6 p.m. kickoff at on FS1. And then the game that everybody is saying watch and saying that this could possibly be an upset game. I would say maybe so if it was like one of those snowy Novembers or something like that, and this was the old Wisconsin teams, but I think that Oregon's going to take care of business. They have a 7:30 p.m. kickoff on NBC. And next week, make sure that you're subscribed, you hit that notification bell, because we're going to be right back here every Saturday after every Ohio State game, whether they
like
win
3:30.
or lose. Yeah. Whether they win or lose. So, Ohio State takes on Indiana. Joe Klatt is definitely excited to call this game, and Gus Johnson is excited to call this game. I don't know if are you going to watch that game on mute, or are you going to give them guys a chance? Because if I hear that tone again, they're probably going on mute.
Honestly, I have some watch party shows I like to check in on at halftime and kind of see what they're saying, Buckeye fans and stuff. And normally I watch with them on instead of the announcers. But this season, I feel like I need to listen to the announcers just to kind of hear what's going on and like comment on it here. Because like somebody comes in the chat and they're like, "Man, did you guys hear Gus Johnson and how terrible he was?" I don't want to be like, "Oh, I put it on mute," like, and then not talk about it. So I do keep it on, but I'm like, I wish I could mute it and just put on some like watch party show or something like that. It'd be a whole lot better than hearing those two dudes because they don't know what they're doing right now.
And it's sad because I used to say, oh, it's a travesty that Gus Johnson and Joe Klatt never commentated a national championship game or not even a playoff game, right? But if that's what you're going to give us, I'm good. Give me Chris Fowler and him mispronouncing everybody's name all the time. I'll take it. Or naming people who aren't even on the roster anymore. I'll take it.
Yep.
At least he comes with some type of energy.
That's my thing with Fowler. Like, I've had a lot of people tell me Fowler like hates the Buckeyes, and I do think he doesn't like the Buckeyes, but he does call pretty much every touchdown about the same, unless it's like a huge moment. He does call pretty much every touchdown about the same. He does get a lot of names wrong. You're right about that. But honestly, so does Gus Johnson. What did he say the last game? There was some player that that has a new number this year. Oh, I think he said Caleb Downs. He called him some other name. I forget what it was.
They've been calling Fox Crew has been calling Caleb Downs, who's back there getting punts. They've been calling him a Emeka Egbuka.
Oh yes, yeah, that's what it was. Yeah,
all the time. And I'm like, bruh, you don't know that there's two number 2s on the don't y'all talk to Ryan Day? Hey, who's your return specialist? Oh, Emeka hasn't been out there all season. What? Like, we're not like, come on, guys. Like, are they even doing their job? Because don't they say or get a chance to sit with the coaches and talk to the coaches? Are they not doing that? Do they not care anymore? And here's the thing that's just so weird, because Joe Klatt seemed to be like always excited about Ohio State until these previous 3 years.
Yep.
And here's the thing. Gus Johnson's the actual team up north, man. Not Joe Klatt.
Well, it's funny because ever since Klatt got on and started like talking about how like, you know, the cheating didn't really matter and stuff like that, Buckeye fans have just revolted against him, which I don't see how you can say that, or how you can think you say that and then not get any pushback from it. Like, obviously the Buckeye fans are very upset about this, and you come out and say, oh, I didn't mean anything. There's totally ways that you can kind of ride the middle a little bit. But I felt like he got his instructions from Fox to tell him, hey, do this. And reluctantly, he went out there and said it. And now he gets all kind of crap from it from Ohio State fans. And he reads he reads the messages on Twitter too much. He reads what everybody's saying about him too much. You got him out here responding to J-Book, which, like, you know, shout out to J-Book. Love, you know, following him on Twitter and everything. But like, why are you responding to fans when you're like, number one, you make a response on why Big Noon Kickoff is so great. Number two, you're responding to them in your mentions and telling them like, oh no, you're wrong. Actually, this, that, and the other. It's like, dude, you don't need to carry the water for so many things. Just be a commentator. Just like, I don't know.
He's a company man.
Ever since he did the Joel Klatt show, he's gone downhill.
He's a company man through and through, and it just seems like if anyone comes at his company, you know, he wants to say something, and it's like, you know, that, you know, his whole take on, you know, Big Noon and they got these numbers and all this. Duh, you're getting these numbers because you're putting primetime games on in noon, and Buckeye fans are gonna show up. But how does the stadium? Guess what you guys don't do? Y'all, you watch all other big time games, primetime night games, and you hear them talking about the stadium. Like even the Oregon game, you heard them talking about the stadium, right? But guess what we don't hear y'all doing during noon games? Talking about the stadium. Even when we was playing Penn State, that anytime we played Penn State night game, you always heard about the stadium. Man, it's shaking, it's rattling, all of that. We don't hear that stuff no more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's because it's at noon. Like, there is nothing to talk about with the stadium. Like, you can talk about how it's loud and stuff like that, but the impact is not as great. The people can't put on as good as shows. And yeah, I was say that, Troy, you're exactly right. Stop watching Klatt last year for those reasons. He would be on with that idiot Colin, whatever his last name is. I think, is it Cowherd? And I lost
Cowherd.
Yeah, that was one of the things that did it for me too. When he started going on Colin Cowherd's show and like, you know, pumping Cowherd up and like talking about how great he was, I was like, dude, you just let Cowherd be his own thing. Like he is a coward. That's what he is. Like he is a coward, and he just wants to talk about how right he is all the time, and he's not actually right all the time. But that's a story for a different day. So I think we complained enough, Mike. I think we got it out there enough. Anything else you want to complain about?
No, man, JR, I want the people to know where they can follow you at, man. Let the people know.
JR's rankings on Twitter. I also have a Big Ten podcast you can go follow, the Big Ten Huddle. We're starting up our basketball content as well. So if you like basketball, go over to the Big Ten Huddle and subscribe for football, and then the Big Ten Huddle -basketball for basketball content as well.
All right. You can follow me on Twitter at 216_wildboy and catch me on the YouTube platform at Best Damn Media as well. You can catch me there Wednesdays for the Fans Edge, where we talk all college football all around the country, and you'll definitely be catching our reactions to the next CFP rankings there. So make sure y'all stay tuned, man. We appreciate y'all.
Later, guys.
OH.
I-O.